Today, I want to talk about noise, distractions, your attention, boredom, your ability to focus, and how looking at the phenomena of the tides can help explain something about all of these. So, we all hear about high and low tides in regards to the waves in the ocean, and most of us kind of know that the moon has something to do with it, maybe? I also know that there are a lot of misconceptions about the tides that make it confusing to even know if you actually know what you're talking about when talking about them. But, what actually causes the tides? There are two high tides and two low tides a day. But if the moon's gravity causes it, wouldn't that mean there would only be one high tide when the moon is overhead? Where are there two? As I said, it could be a bit confusing. So, tides. They seem simple, but the consequences as a result of them are pretty far reaching. First off, when scientists talk about tides, they usually aren't talking about the actual movement of water. It's just a shortening of the term tidal force. It's related to gravity, and we all pretty much know the basics of gravity. You hold an apple, you let it go, it always falls to the ground. And it falls to the ground at the same rate. And it falls to the ground at that rate because of the force of the earth pulling it towards its center. That force diminishes at a constant rate with distance. Think about how bright the flash from your phone is when you try to take a selfie versus how it barely does anything when you try to use it as a light in the dark. That's because the objects are usually further away. Gravity works like that. And the rate it diminishes is the square of whatever the distance is. So if you double your distance, the force drops by 2 times 2, or 4, which is just the square of 2. If you're 3 times further away, it drops by a factor of 9, and so on. Fun fact, photographers use this as a trick when they don't have enough battery to turn their flashes on full power. Don't tell them I said that though. Now please note that this does not mean that if I'm on a wall that's twice my height that I'll only feel 1/4 of the gravity that I feel when I'm on the ground. If that were the case, anyone on the roof of their house would be jumping like Mario. That's because the distance isn't measured from the ground we stand on, but from the center of the earth. Remember I said the earth pulls that apple towards its center? You could imagine that the earth's mass is concentrated at a point in its center, and we measure distance starting from there. The radius of the Earth is about 6,400 kilometers, or 400 miles. So you'd have to travel that distance away from the ground to finally feel like you weigh 1/4 of what you do. And since most of us don't have access to rockets for fun, I guess it's regular old diet and exercise for us. Fun fact though, while the Earth is pulling us down, we do pull back on it. Just a tiny bit, but it is measurable. That's because we also have mass, and anything with mass has gravity. The more mass, the higher the gravitational force. With that in mind, let's get back to the moon. So the moon has its own mass and ergo its own gravity. The Earth is much more massive than the moon, so its gravity keeps the moon in orbit. But the moon does pull back, just like we do, but with more attitude. So the invisible hand of the moon's gravity grasps the Earth and pulls us a tiny bit. And because of the whole diminishing over the distance thing, the side of the Earth nearest to the moon gets pulled about 6% more than the side that's furthest away. Because even though gravity gets weaker, it's still there, like the light from your phone flash getting dimmer. As a result of the gravity being different on one side versus the other, the Earth stretches a little bit. This is called differential gravity. I promise I'll be done with the sciencey stuff in a little bit, just trying to get somewhere with this. So the Earth and the Moon have this little dance going on, pulling on each other as they spin and move around. Gravity is always attracting the bodies towards each other, the Moon pulling the water in its direction. But wait, we're back at the start again. Wouldn't that mean that the water would just bulge up on the side of the Earth that the Moon is on and flatten on the other side? Not quite. Remember, there are 2 high tides a day and not 1. But how? So the Earth and the Moon are actually orbiting a point in between the 2 bodies, as if all the mass of the Earth-Moon system is concentrated there. That's called the center of mass, or the barycenter. The force of the Moon's gravity on the Earth always points towards the Moon. It gets weaker with distance, and when the force of the Moon's gravity is calculated relative to the Earth-Moon center of mass, the far side of the Earth feels a negative force, aka a force pointing away from the Moon. That's how the stretching happens, and that's how the 2 high tides happen. There's some other cool stuff that we could get into if I take this a little further, but I can already feel some of you dozing off. So, Daryl, you talked about my ability to focus. Was this little lesson a test of that? How does this talk relate to distractions? Were you just testing my boredom? Let's get into that. All right, so let's say the center of the earth is you, because of course. You're pretty chill on your own, but you've got all this noise coming in from the outside. You have the stress from school, work, your parents, or whatever, and the ever present distraction from things like social media, Netflix. We all know how Netflix binging goes, and whatever else calls your name. While there are some benefits to these distractions and little rewards, like that little dopamine rush when your Instagram photo gets a lot of likes, or when you find that TikTok video that relates to you on another level, I'm not exactly sure how TikTok works. Somebody let me know about that in the comments. I don't know what the attraction is. So yeah, there are some little highs here and there, but have you noticed that it's become harder and harder to just sit in silence, to read a book in peace even? About just taking a walk and thinking about thoughts instead of Katy Perry booming through your headphones. Sorry, wait, no. Taylor Swift booming through your headphones. Remember being outside and just looking at the sunset while talking to friends and family? Well, if you haven't tried that one, I recommend it. Just pockets of quiet, I guess, amidst all the noise that call us on a daily basis. It's harder to find those pockets because the noise, i.e. the apps, the hustle and bustle and so on, it's always so near to us. Everything is just a click away. The gravity is too strong just being that close all the time. You can't always have high tide. It stretches you like the earth and slows your rotation. You're being pulled this way and that by all of these things, and the effects can go deeper than you see, much like the effects of gravity. So what's my stupid advice? Get some distance. Diminish those effects. Let your brain catch and rewire itself. Be bored in some silence from time to time. It hurts, but just let it happen. Move to the flow of your own rotations and feel the breath of your personal tidal forces. See where they lead you. Then once you've got that down, you come back. You work on managing the noise. And if you're an artist or a creative, you try to make something. It feels good. It doesn't even have to be good or cool or post-worthy. Just make it for you. Or hey, even if you're not an artist or a chef or some other type of creative person, just go out and find a view. You might enjoy it, and you might find something beautiful. Thanks for watching, and thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed. See you next time.